All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we are going to tackle something huge, something that almost everyone has an opinion on, but maybe doesn't fully understand. Yep, we're talking about Social Security. Let's just cut through all that noise and get right to what's really going on.
So let's just dive right into the deep end, okay? Because this is the big question, the one that keeps people up at night. Is Social Security actually going broke? I mean, you've seen the headlines, right? You've heard the chatter, maybe from politicians, maybe at the dinner table, that the money just won't be there when you need it. So what's the real deal?
Okay, so before we can really get into where we are now or where we're headed, we've got to rewind. I mean, way back. We need to understand the moment this whole promise was born. And it happened during one of the toughest times this country has ever faced. Think about it. The 1930s, the Great Depression. It was a time of absolute crisis. Millions of people were out of work, and older folks were seeing their entire life savings just vanish. It was out of this chaos that FDR came up with this big idea for a national safety net. The country was crying out for some kind of security, some kind of backstop. And the idea at its heart was actually pretty simple, but wow, was it powerful. It was a promise, really. A promise that if you work your whole life, you'll have some basic level of security when you get older, or if you become disabled. You know, it was more than just some government program, it was a big statement. It said that here in America, we've got each other's backs.
But look, this safety net doesn't just appear out of thin air. It's not magic. It's a deal. It's a system that millions and millions of us are a part of every single time we get a paycheck. So how does this whole deal actually work?
Okay, if you remember one thing, let it be this. Social Security is something you earn. It is absolutely not a handout. You see that little FICA line on your paycheck? That's you paying your dues, contributing to the system. It's kind of like a giant national group project where we all chip in to make sure there's a safety net for everyone. Now, here's the part that really throws a lot of people for a loop. That money you're paying in, it's not going into some personal savings account with your name on it, just waiting for you. Nope. The taxes you pay today are going right back out the door to pay for benefits for today's retirees. It's a constant flow, a pay-as-you-go system connecting one generation to the next. So what does that actually translate to in dollars and cents? Well, for millions of people, it's a lifeline. The average monthly check is right around $1,500. Now look, it's not designed to cover all your expenses, but it's meant to be a solid foundation you can build on. And you know how everyone kind of has the number 65 stuck in their head as the retirement age? Well, that's a little outdated now. For pretty much anyone born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age, that's the magic number to get 100% of your benefit, is actually 67. Okay, so now we've got the basics down. We know how it's supposed to work. So let's start busting some of the biggest myths out there. Because honestly, there is so much confusing information flying around, it's time to just set the record straight. All right, this is the big one, the granddaddy of all Social Security myths, that it's going broke. The reality? No, it's not going bankrupt. It's facing a shortfall. Think about it this way. As long as people are working and paying taxes, money is always coming in. The problem is, down the road, around 2034, the money coming in will only be enough to pay for about 80% of the benefits we've promised. It's a math problem, not an empty piggy bank. Okay, what about this idea that the government is raiding the Social Security piggy bank? You hear that one a lot. So here's what's actually happening. By law, whenever Social Security has extra money, a surplus, it has to invest it in something super safe. And what's safer than U.S. Treasury bonds? So yes, the government is borrowing that money, but it's a loan that it legally has to pay back with interest. So that raid is actually an investment that helps the fund grow. Kind of ironic, right? Here's another one that just seems to have a life of its own. The myth that members of Congress don't pay into Social Security. That is just flat out wrong. It's a total myth. Ever since a big reform back in 1984, every single member of Congress has paid into the exact same system as the rest of us. They get a paycheck, they see the FICA deduction, period. And then there's the one about undocumented immigrants draining the system. Well, let's look at the facts. First off, they're not even eligible to receive Social Security benefits. But here's the twist. Many of them work jobs where payroll taxes are taken out anyway. So what does that mean? It means they are paying billions, literally billions of dollars into the system every year that they can never claim. So financially speaking, they're actually helping the system, not hurting it.
So now that we've cleared the air on some of those myths, we can really zero in on the actual challenge ahead. And it's not about some secret government raid or the system going completely broke. It's really about two things: demographics and dollars and cents.
And this visual really lays it all out. This is the heart of the problem. Sometime in the mid-2030s, the scale is going to tip. The system is projected to start paying out more money than it's taking in. And the reason why is actually pretty simple. We're living longer, which is great, but it also means we're collecting benefits for more years. At the same time, families are smaller, so there are fewer workers paying into the system for every one person taking money out. That's the imbalance. That's the gap we need to fix.
But here's the good news, and it is really good news. This is totally fixable. I mean, we've done it before. The fixes aren't some giant, scary overhaul. They're usually a series of small tweaks. Asking people to chip in a tiny bit more could mean raising the retirement age by a few months or bumping up the payroll tax by a fraction of a percent. The key thing here is that the sooner we make these small adjustments, the better. It's way less painful than waiting until the last second and having to do something drastic.
So that's where we're at. And it all boils down to this one central question. We have this incredible safety net, one that's kept millions of our parents and grandparents out of poverty. We know it's got a hole in it, and we even have a pretty good toolbox of ways to patch it up. So the only real question left is, which tools are we going to use? What choices are we willing to make sure that original promise holds up? For our parents, for us, and for our kids too.